don't get so caught up in trying to fix the problem that you muck up the solution. Hey, hi, I'm Angel. Thanks for stopping by. I was just reflecting on how often we get upset about something not going the way we expect it to, and then instead of just letting that go and focusing on the next great moment, we carry forward this angst or this dissatisfaction from the last moment into the next moment and kind of muck up or ruin lots of moments ahead of ourselves. It's an interesting thing that I think many of us frequently do. I know I have caught myself doing it a time or two. In fact, just recently, I let myself get excited and expectation of spending some time visiting with somebody that I really enjoy their company, and then when it didn't work out that way because things came up and he ended up doing other things, and I got kind of angry and felt put out, stood up and felt bad about the whole situation instead of just enjoying, enjoying the now. I mostly did, but at some point I started to get in a negative thought pattern, which is actually quite familiar to me, and one I've been working on catching myself and training myself out of. And in any case, I went into that familiar kind of thought pattern of not feeling worthy or not feeling good enough. I think most of us have some form or version, or maybe many, of that very thought pattern. So I've learned to not beat myself up for it, just recognize that it's something that we humans often have to deal with. We have our ego, our imagination, this whole complex, wonderful, dynamic person that we are, and that has challenges to it. And one of those challenges is staying present in the moment and not letting emotion from one moment. So I think it's fine, it's valid to have an emotional response to any situation. The trick is to then let it go, to not then wreck the next future moment or the next day or the next conversation or the next time that you get to spend time with somebody that you were disappointed about not spending time with, to not wreck that time with, I do think it's important to express your needs and your boundaries. So at some point I will have a conversation with my friend about maybe how to interact, for us to interact in a way that is less likely to trigger me. And actually, honestly, when I reflect on it, I can see that it is a trigger that I have. Like I mentioned, it's my own negative thought pattern loop, and that I have expressed that to my friend. And actually, he did contact me and let me know, it wasn't like he just totally blew me off and didn't talk to me. He did touch base with me and say, hey, sorry, things came up and I got busy, so won't be able to spend more time tonight. And so, what more do I, like, that's considerate and that's awesome. And so to put all that in perspective helps me, and to recognize that it's my own thought pattern. But also I see this so often in so many venues. I was just giving my own little personal example, but it really is something that so many of us do. And so many, like, another example is I just lost a dear cat friend who died kind of tragically a couple days ago, and I could spend time telling you about it and get real sad, but that would be a waste of the right now. So instead I take from that, I'm super grateful that I got that loving relationship. It was an exceptionally loving, close relationship that I feel lucky to have experienced. And I also appreciate the clarity of death, the calmness of it, the fact that my friend isn't suffering anymore, and that I no longer have to think about how to best provide care, or what the best decision is to make in response to pain or needs. I get to move on into other pains and needs, including most of my own and whatever other beings that I develop relationships with and that I currently have relationships with. So that's my 2 cents for right now. I was just reflecting on how important it is to breathe deeply into the moment. Smile if you can. Cry if you need to. But really be present in the moment and make sure it's what you need right now and not some residual problem that you're just carrying forward and retelling and retelling and retelling, so recreating. Because that's, I think, a belief is just a thought that you think over and over again. And so if you have a belief that doesn't serve you, like I'm not worthy, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm defective, some of the many, many common thoughts that we humans tend to think, nobody loves me, might as well go eat worms. If you're having any of those thoughts, then just stop. Just change that. Change it to something else you can believe. Like, maybe I'm not the worst person in the world. Or, you got to start, because if you just tell yourself like an affirmation that you don't believe, like everything is wonderful, if you don't believe that, then you're just actually reinforcing your sense of uncredibility and unworthiness with yourself. So it's important to find a stepping stone. Find a thought that's believable, but isn't to your detriment anymore. If you're having thoughts that are to your detriment, and I'm speaking from experience as a person who's had and still does have thoughts that are not in my favor, not in my best interest to keep thinking these thoughts and create them as beliefs. And yet sometimes I do. Now, as I root them out and I'm paying more attention to how I feel, it's easier to see, oh, that thought, like, just notice if you're feeling really terrible, that gut feeling, you're crying, you're feeling terrible, notice what's the thought that's playing in your head. And if it's, I'm unworthy, I suck, they suck, something is terrible, then see if you can't just tell that in a slightly easier, lighter version. Like, this is really difficult right now, and I'm having a hard time coping with it. That's a good one. Or, that isn't so brutal on yourself. Like, this will, because everything changes. That's another one to think. This is temporary. This too shall pass. That's a cliche saying for a reason. It's a really good one. Everything is all right. Things have a way of working out. Even though I don't see how they're working out right now, I know from my past experience that they're probably going to be fine. They're probably going to work out. These are just a few examples that I've come up with, that I've heard other people come up with, that are useful. It's useful to have a toolbox of sayings of things. Mantras is one way of putting it, but I like thinking of it as a toolbox of things I can use to help turn myself around when I get off track or down the wrong path. And those include not just affirmations, although those are good too, and I have some regular affirmations that I say. However, even more useful sometimes in the moment is that ability to recognize the feeling and then just soften the statement. Just come up with something a little more general, maybe a little less specific. If it's feeling bad, one little trick to do is to go more general. When you're feeling bad, instead of thinking, this person did this specific thing and that's why I feel this specific way, like cutting my heart out or whatever very specific thing it is, instead make it more general. Like, I am feeling really bad right now because I'm not feeling satisfied in my relationships, or I want to get better at communicating my needs so that I don't end up feeling like my needs aren't being met. These are some more helpful, softer, still true statements often that I use. You have to come up with your own that you believe for you to use, although you're welcome to borrow mine if they seem helpful at all. I don't mind one bit. Anyhow, that's what I got to say about all that. I hope that some of that helps you. My mission here is just to help us all reach our highest potential, bloom into our best selves, create a more peaceful, fantastic, playful future. So that's my 2 cents. Till next time, peace, prosperity, possibilities, potential, and playfulness.